What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Full Throttle Pod. I'm Evan, your host. Once again, here with Patrick and Daniel. Boys, how we doing today?
Pretty
Thumbs
good.
up. We're doing good. You can't see my thumb, but here
Yes,
it is.
you cannot see your thumb. Today we're talking fully, strictly F1. Reacting to the Belgian GP. Long weekend,
Yes,
obviously
sir.
sprint weekend. So we have two races really to react to. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. Let's start for our kind of initial reactions. Pat, what are your sort of big takeaways from the Belgian GP?
This was an eventful week. I mean, the rain, the weather. I mean, you didn't know what was gonna happen. I mean,
Yeah.
every few minutes they were like, the rain's gonna just like Hurricane Katrina's rolling
Yeah.
in about 5 minutes, and the driver's like, oh fuck, and then it would
Oh.
just not happen. It
Their
was wild,
practice
but
their
I
practice
mean,
session was literally qualifying because P1 practice one
yeah,
rained out completely. They had like 10 minutes on track, and then they went straight
yeah,
from that to like 2 hours later. Let's just hop into a qualifying session and see how it goes. So yeah,
just like fuck it.
definitely crazy weekend. Dan, how we initial
Wow.
reactions to the Belgian GP?
Definitely exciting. We saw a lot of drivers that just had so much potential, and then like as the week went on through the Grand Prix, kind of depressing. But we did see other drivers definitely step up, so it was a good week. It was a good week.
Yep, I agree. So let's just hop into, we call this section F1 through 10, where we just go and give all the drivers and constructors a rating from either F1 weekend to an F10 weekend, depending on what they did. We're gonna start constructors champions right now. Reigning constructor champions, currently leading constructors, Red Bull. What a week! They fully extended their all time record now to 13 races in a row that they've won. Um,
It's insane.
Kind of insane. Yeah, kind of
Utter
insane.
domination. Utter domination.
They look absolutely unbeatable right now. Max Verstappen obviously leading the way for them, won by 20 plus seconds again over his teammate Sergio Perez, who didn't have such a bad weekend himself. Max dominated the weekend completely. Qualified first, obviously had an engine penalty, so dropped down to P6, but qualified first, won the sprint race, won the actual race. Clean sweep for Max. What would we rate Max's weekend?
Definitely F1, man. He did not get fastest lap. Lewis Hamilton did pop in with the mediums right at the last lap, but you got to give the kid credit because he's just absolutely dominating F1 this season. The 2023 season is specifically for him. He's beating records. He's making all-time championships look so easy. It's
Yeah,
just good for him.
yeah, I completely agree. Pat, what are you thinking? F1 through 10.
I mean, Max is what's the max score? It's
F1, you
F1,
got
right?
F1 weekend.
He's
You
an
could give him,
F1,
you're gonna give him
F1.
an F0. I mean, there's not much more you can
No,
do, dude. He completely dominated.
I mean, he's in another league right now. I mean, the few chances, the few times we do get to see him behind someone, who's that overtake on? It was fucking disgusting.
Dude,
I mean,
all of them on
coming out
Hamilton,
of the
on Leclerc, on
yeah,
Perez. He had no shot. He was 2 seconds ahead of Perez out of the corner. Like, how does that even happen?
yeah, and it was like 3 second gap, and the lap wasn't even over.
Yeah,
He was just flying.
yeah.
Yeah, that
I mean,
straightaway, he looked like a bullet, just passing
Dude,
everybody with ease.
the onboard shots
it
from
was
watching Max
insane.
pass, they literally see like a dot in the distance and just get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and like
There's
halfway
just
down the straight,
there's nothing you could
they were
do.
like oh, I'm gonna make Max go around the outside, and he'd like, gladly, I'll just go around the outside, and that was that. Because I know exactly which overtake. I think it was on Leclerc.
Leclerc or
He
Sainz,
went on,
where all
yeah,
of a sudden he's just going on the outside and completely just like fast forwards past
yeah,
the Ferrari. It's just
yeah.
Yeah,
that
I don't think he
car's
got blocked. I don't think he
I
no,
got
concur.
blocked
no.
once.
Leclerc tried to hold the inside line and like force Max around the outside, but that car just has so
He
much
got
downforce, and
dusted.
he was so late on the brakes. It was freaking ridiculous. I don't know, man. Max is definitely an F1 weekend. This is kind of, I think this is his Lewis Hamilton, Michael Schumacher season. This is what that is. This is just pure,
Yeah,
utter. 2023 is Max's year. He very, very probably will win out. If I had to guess, he'll probably win out, barring
yeah.
any weather or mechanical failures. Now there are some races coming up that could easily cause a mechanical failure. Singapore, really hot. Texas, very hot. Las Vegas probably going to be very hot. So
Mexico as
Nighttime
well.
race.
Mexico
Yeah.
and
The
altitude, yeah,
altitude.
very true.
You lose a lot of
Brazil,
oxygen.
Brazil
Yeah.
too. So
Brazil's
there's
a hard
There's a
track.
lot of tests coming up, but
hey,
I
even
mean,
even Abu Dhabi. There's a lot of hot tracks coming up, and a lot of like tricky tracks as well. So we'll see what happens. Do we think
Yep.
Max will win out? That's the question right now.
mm,
I definitely think so. There's just no
Probably.
stopping him.
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
he's super max.
He is.
Even through like before the summer break, everyone's saying like, "Oh, he only needs 2 more races to completely dominate the championship," and I can see it happening. He got his 8th win in a row, and that's ridiculous already. So
Yeah.
if he's well prepared after the summer break, he's gonna dominate the entire season.
Yeah. If he wins out, he's already halfway to lose his record. By the way, for wins, I think this season. Granted,
That's
you'd have to
insane.
he would still have to win for another 3 or 4 seasons straight.
yeah,
Break that
like, that's how
record.
far loses ahead. That record is massive.
Yeah, but
I mean, he's chunking it away, but
yeah,
I mean,
again, props to
80
Max.
wins or 100
I'm-
wins. Right now, 80 wins.
For what? Who? Lewis?
Lewis is 80, right, or 100?
I think it's 100.
I don't know.
I think he literally his last win was his 100th.
Oh yeah, what was it?
He hasn't gotten past that.
Yes.
Or it might be like
Oh,
102,
yeah.
something like that. It's like 100 to
I
102
don't
or
know.
something like that. 102 might be polls.
Yeah.
So who knows, dude? I mean, I'm not the biggest Max fan. I don't like the way he drives, but hey, this season he has my utmost respect because he's out
He
there.
drives so fast.
Dude, he's having a freaking couple shots of whiskey and said screw it. But
I mean, there's
Yeah.
like no weaknesses right now with that car or him. Just any track, any
Flawless.
day, he's gonna show up and it's gonna be P1. It's
bro,
just
he
like-
literally he said mid race to his engineer, he just passed Checo, had pulled like 2 seconds on Checo. He's like, I could just drive off right now and we can get like some pit stop practice in if you want. Who talks about pit stop practice mid GP, bro? Like,
Champs
Bruh.
do. Champions talk about the teamwork, okay, and then he could focus on
Nah,
the
he
race.
was trolling. He
he
was
was
trolling.
trolling, bro. He said, let's
He
get some
knew
pit
that shit
stop.
was gonna get clipped.
Let's get some
He
pit stop
knew
practice in mid race. His engineer said, absolutely not. But I
Rightfully so.
I respect that you have 20
That is the
seconds of
correct
pace.
decision to not do pit stop
Yeah.
practice at the end of a race.
But man, crazy. All right, enough of Max. Let's get on to Sergio. Finished P2 in the race. Probably Sergio's best result since probably I don't know where he finished in Monaco. I don't know, but it doesn't matter. One of his better results for a while. He did DNF in the sprint race after having some contact with Hamilton. Not necessarily his fault, but he was also, again, he wasn't really making too many impressions in the sprint race. But nonetheless, solid race. Qualified P3 after some severe qualifying struggles the last 7 or so races. So
Mhm.
F1 through 10 for Sergio. Dan, I'll go to you.
I'll give him like F2. Qualifying was okay. It's a Red Bull. He should be up there 1 or 2. No questions asked, especially with the pace that Max is giving. But I think for a good rating, F2. He had a really good Grand Prix. But again, we were talking about the whole weekend. Didn't do so well in the sprint race. He was forced to retire after that collision. So, but definitely made it up during the Grand Prix. So props to him. I give him F2.
F2 from Dan. Pat, how we feeling?
Yeah, I'd say F2. 2 as
F2.
well. Yeah. That sounds pretty good. I mean, he had a good week. I mean, he didn't the DNF in the sprint race was, I guess, unfortunate. Initially when I saw it on the TV, I was like, get him out of the seat. He just like slammed into Lewis and DNF'd himself.
Yeah.
But the weird camera angle and everything, but I guess it got figured out. And yeah, he made it up for in the race. He had a good race. Definitely did his job, but still got completely outclassed by Max. But I mean, it really doesn't matter.
See, I think you guys are being a little lenient here. I'm gonna give him like an F4, bro. And hear me out here. We know how strong that car is at Spa from last year and this year. You're telling me you could only qualify P3, Or did he qualify P4?
Not front row. That's what he
He
didn't
wasn't front.
qualify.
Where did
Okay.
he start? No, he did. He
No, he
qualified P2.
started front row.
He started
front row.
He started P2 because Max had his
He started
his,
P2. He started P2.
Okay.
Qualified P3. I feel like you should be able to
This-
beat a Ferrari out. Just putting it out there. You should be able to beat a Ferrari out in that Red Bull. DNF'd in the sprint. He had no business being down there next to Hamilton in that Red Bull. No business being down there. And then on top of that, gets the lead of the race and then gets his teammate to pass him, and then he loses to his teammate by over 20 seconds. And we're going to give that an F2.
Yep.
Yeah. Now that you put it that way.
Man, you're comparing him to like
Daniel
the
went
best
F2,
driver.
and I was like, he got second place. I was like, oh, we got to give him props. Like, we got to give him like a good score this week. He was like, he finished at the end. You know, he did
he
his job.
definitely made up
Like-
for the weekends before when he was
Yeah.
doing, mediocre as well. So if for you to give him an F4, I understand for this weekend, but an F2 is actually reasonable for him. He's definitely making up for what he previously has done, and now Red Bull can have trust in him that they could put points on the board.
Yeah.
Solidify points on the board at
That
least.
sounds like a lot of foo-foo fluff for me, bro. That's all I'm saying.
Mm.
Be better, Checo. I know you're better than this.
he does. He still needs to be better.
Be better. You're good. Just get out your own head, bro. That's all it is. Anyway, moving on to the former team that used to be dominant, and I wish they still were, but it's okay. Maybe next year. Mercedes, Lewis Hamilton finished P4 in the race, super close to a podium. Ended up just pitting and grabbing the fastest lap instead of trying to battle Leclerc for it. George Russell P6. Lewis finished P7 in the sprint, and Russell finished P8 in the sprint. F1 through 10 for Lewis Hamilton this week.
I think I would give him like F3. Compared to last week, he definitely stepped down the rankings a little bit, especially with how close him and Alonso are right now. It is between 1 point away from each other, fighting for third on the championship. So he's got to start stepping it up a little bit more because of the risks that these championship points are giving.
Yeah. Pat?
I think the Merc boys, they're pretty quiet this week. Not a lot of headlines. They weren't really like fighting for that podium that they should be, like that 4th and 5th. They were kind of stuck down in like 7th, 8th, 9th.
Yeah.
And
The Merc never came alive.
For them. No.
Right. The Merc never came alive this week. Sometimes towards the end of the race, you'll see it just lights it up, but it wasn't there. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Continue.
No, it was good.
That's all you had.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I would give him like probably an F3 or F4. I think I'm gonna dock him some points. Again, I love Lewis. I think he deserves an F1 every single race, but I'll dock some points for the Perez incident. Speaking of which, that was a stupid harsh penalty. 5 seconds. That was a racing incident. The commentator says a racing incident.
It was a racing incident, but
Everybody thought
you
it was
understeer into
fully-
someone.
But bro,
did you
more
see
than
how
alongside
close
them.
they were
Yeah.
on that corner?
Yeah.
Like literally millimeters from each other. And I think as they were full throttling it down the straight, or the back straight, they ended up both slipping in the wet, in the intermediates. So definitely a racing incident. Should it be a penalty? I don't think so.
I don't know. Because here's my other thing, right? If Lewis had gotten the damage and Lewis was forced to retire, is Checo getting a penalty? No. It's not happening. And I think Lewis was on the inside of the corner and was basically completely wheel to wheel with him. I don't know. Whatever. But like I was saying,
I think Perez was definitely in front because if you saw the body damage, it's right in the middle of their side pod.
Yeah.
And he clipped the front tire.
I mean,
I
it
choose
definitely
to
was
believe-
not
I choose
intentional.
to believe what I saw. All right. He was in front. Okay.
You could believe what you want,
I
but
can believe what
the
exactly.
FIA is the FIA.
I mean,
FIA
if
is-
anything, just blame it on the shitty car because he was carrying a little too much apex speed and that Merc just understeered right into him. It's like a magnet
man.
right into the Red Bull. It's a magnetic attraction. He's just like, I gotta hit him. Too bad it wasn't Russell, you know. Then he would be like, oh, he definitely turned into me.
Oh my god.
Oh, he turned into me, mate.
He turned into me, and he's like understeering into him.
Oh man. Speaking of George Russell, let's move on to George Russell. Lewis Hamilton, solid week. I mean, nothing too crazy, but again, kind of Merck is always there picking at points where their points are picked up. They're never gonna they're not underachieving necessarily. I mean, they are underachieving, but they're not like woefully underachieving. They're at least picking up the points even when they have bad weekends. Moving on, George Russell. Not as strong as the weekend. Got beaten by his teammate in both races again. Again, P6 in the race, P8. Sorry, P6 in the race, P8 in the sprint. What are we giving George Russell? F1 through 10.
I think I'd give him an F4. He's got to make these moves to make him advance in the standings. He's risking too much and not getting the results that he wants within every race.
Yeah.
You know, Lewis is stepping it up every single time. He's taking these risks that are crazy, but like making up for it in the standings. George Russell just needs to get up there.
Yeah. He's currently tied with 99 points with Leclerc. Both have exactly 99 points. And then is right now sitting 50 points? 50 points behind Hamilton. It's 2 full wins worth of points behind Hamilton. Not very good.
Damn.
He's also had a couple more He's had like 2 DNFs this season as well, which is
right,
give or take. But still, even if you add in 2 DNFs and say he's probably averaged about 4th or 5th place, give him another 20 points, you're still down 25 points on your teammate. But yeah, I would give him like an F5. Here's the thing, right? Here's the thing for me. If you're going to be Lewis Hamilton's teammate, you have to be sensational. I'm not saying that George isn't sensational. I think he's a fantastic driver. But I think we're still missing like those iconic George Russell drives, right?
True.
I think even when he won in Brazil, I don't think that's a George Russell drive. I think that was just Mercedes finally got together. And then George Russell and Lewis are battling it out. Like, I don't think we've seen George's full talents on display yet. And I think he's fully capable of beating Lewis Hamilton. He obviously beat Lewis Hamilton last year on points-wise. He's just missing, like, even when Valtteri was here, Valtteri had like, oh, where's Valtteri? And Valtteri would be somewhere in the mix. I feel like George sometimes, he's just too, like, he's not there.
He's
like,
left out.
Where is he? He's Lewis is up here trying to fight for a podium. Where's George?
I would disagree. I've liked a lot what I've seen from George this season. I mean, maybe not in quali. I think his Saturdays have been pretty poor, but definitely like his race pace. I mean, like he can look quick at times. He can look good. Maybe his finishes are kind of lacking now, but towards the beginning of the season, he was there. He was like kind of in the mix, but
yeah, I'm pretty sure he got a few podiums.
Yeah, he did get 1 podium. No, he didn't. He got it revoked. I remember that. I'm pretty sure he got a penalty for it.
That's right. He had to give his podium up.
Yeah, I think Lewis is the only one. No.
Good in Silverstone.
Where did Mark get a double? He got a double podium somewhere. Where is that? Or maybe he didn't. Is Lewis the only one who scored podiums?
George has definitely had.
But I see where you're coming from. I think you're right. That's a good point. George needs to be more of a finisher. He needs to finish a race. Like George will be there. He'll be in the mix, but no matter where Hamilton is in a race, he always seems to like achieve pretty much what the best result is in that car. It's like, look, even at Spa, like he finished P4. Could he have finished P3? Probably, but the Ferrari's really quick that weekend. But he's at least there in the conversation. George is doing all these crazy overtakes during the race, but like come the end of the race, it's like, okay, you just finished P6. Like,
yeah, maybe he's just tire management. I mean, maybe that's just like a skill he hasn't like developed quite yet. Like, you know, Lewis can just take shit tires 1,000 laps, and maybe Russ just like kind of cooks his tires, just doing a lot of overtakes because he does a lot of great driving. You're like, wow, Russ is flying, and then his pace just tanks. And I think it's just like the combination of the Merc and tire deg, and his pace just gets trashed.
I also think it's very much because of his qualifying. Mercedes can't afford to put both drivers on the same strategy. They're just not good enough to do that right now.
No.
So typically, whoever like that head car is, whether it's Lewis or George, gets like the preferred tire strategy, gets the preferred first like choice of pit stop, what tires you want to go on, etc. Where so Lewis is getting all of the good strategies right now because he's qualifying better and performing better. Which again, I'm not saying George like should be getting it because if he wants it, he has to perform better. But at the same time, you have like George is running like George ran like 30 laps on the soft tires. Lewis did like 8. You know what I mean?
True.
It's just strats, and if you qualify further down the grid, you're going to be subjected to worse strategies because you need more of a Hail Mary to get you back up there. But
Yeah.
it is what it is. Let's get off of Mercedes. Let's go to who Mercedes is now well ahead of in the constructors championship, and Lewis Hamilton is now exactly 1 point behind our lead driver. Aston Martin. Whew. Tough week. Alonso P5. If P5 sounds flattering, given that Hamilton finished P4, but Alonso was like 18 seconds behind Hamilton. Like there was a big gap between P4. It was almost as big a gap between Max and Checo as there was between Hamilton and Alonso. That's how far back the rest of the grid was. But Alonso, P5 in the race, DNF'd in the sprint race, had a spin. Lance Stroll, P9 in the race, P11 in the sprint. F1 through 10 for Fernando Alonso this week.
Gotta give the man credit. I'll give him like F4. He's starting to pick it up a little bit again, but we're still seeing Aston Martin not succeed as well as they were in the beginning of the season.
Did you just
Good
say?
to see
Did you just say
F4 because he is the plan.
I'm sorry.
plan.
Did you just say I gotta give him credit for finishing
what?
18 seconds behind Lewis Hamilton, spinning on his own in the sprint race?
Yeah. Gassed it
As
on
a
the
world
outside
class
corner.
driver,
Put it in the
you
wall.
have to spin it
Or put it in the ground.
as a 2-time world champion. We're gonna give him credit, give him F4.
Absolutely, dude.
That was an absolute disaster from Aston all weekend.
Pat,
compared to their last two
dude,
races.
that crash from Lance Stroll in qualifying when he was out there on mediums in the wet, hilarious. I mean,
Yeah.
he went to the apex.
Everybody saw that
his
coming.
wheels like this, his tires are like this, and his car's just like going just completely dead straight, just slams into the barrier. He's like, "Oh, I gotta tiptoe it around, boys. Next corner."
Yeah, but we're talking about Alonso specifically, okay?
Yeah.
This man is starting to pick it back up.
No,
okay?
he's not.
I bet
going backwards.
right after the summer
He's been
break,
going backwards the last
after
5
the
weeks. He's like, "Oh, this
man.
is the last week without a podium, right?" That's been like the last 6 weeks. He said that.
Yeah,
it's been a couple months,
and he's not been close.
No,
he's not been close. That Aston
still give him F4.
No,
still giving F4. All right, Dan's sticking at F4. Pat, what are you giving him? Talk some sense into Dan, please.
F6, F7, dude. He's down. He's down bad right now. I mean, you can see the tears in his eyes, like back in what was that, 06? When Lewis robbed it from him. Just tears in his eyes. Just not a good showing from Aston right now, from both of their drivers.
No. I'll be fair. I'll give him a P5. I think we're putting some of Aston Martin's blame on Fernando Alonso, which it's not. I mean, it sort of is because that's his team now. I mean, obviously Lance Stroll is there, but Fernando is the number one driver there. He's expected to get all the results. That's a single person team. But yeah, just hasn't been there. Pace hasn't been there. No, it's not completely his fault because obviously they had to put the car behind him, which they were at the beginning of the season. But yeah, easy F5 or F6. F4, he ain't deserving that. Lance Stroll scored points at least, but that's an F8.
Yeah.
Yeah, the kid is just, I don't know what he's trying to do. He's trying to show off a little too much. Those oh man, those DNFs and those accidents that he's making are just like silly little accidents or silly little incidents.
Yeah,
as a driver who's not a rookie anymore, he's been in the league for at least 4 or 5 years already.
Yeah,
you gotta have some common sense when you're in Spa and in the rain. I feel like they only race in Spa in the rain in the first place, so you have to like take less risks, especially with a car that is very underperformed.
I feel like he's just underachieving so much, man. Like that car was so
It's a
good.
lot of.
That
I
car,
don't know.
literally,
I think the car is just never
they're P,
upgraded.
yeah, they're P3 in the constructors.
Never.
No, they're still upgrading it, but this hasn't worked, and they're P3 in the constructors
Yeah.
championship because of like their first 5 or 6 races. And Lance Stroll got
Mhm.
not a single podium, nothing out of it.
Yeah. I mean, he was like kind of in the mix, but he was like only worth like max like a P5.
I think of all of the drivers on the grid who should be scared for their jobs right now, and that Nick DeVries is gone, it should be Lance Stroll. I mean, he's not going anywhere because his dad owns the team, but it should be Lance Stroll. He's doing horrible. But
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and crucify Lance Stroll all day. So be better, get good. You're trash right now, but that's okay.
He's gonna listen to this and be like, "Well, I'm banning you from races."
That's fine. That's perfectly fine.
Let's
You
go
know who's
Ferrari.
also going to want to ban me for from races after we talk about this? Ferrari, because they stink. They stink
They are-
bad.
Oh
But
man!
I'm not going to trash them. I'm not going to trash them today because they did score a podium finally after who freaking knows how long. Dude. It's been years.
One of them.
This is the only one this season. They haven't scored another podium this season.
Only one of them scored.
Who? Oh, I see what you're saying.
Fair.
Yeah.
This weekend.
I'm not talking about signs. I'm talking about signs. I'm talking about Ferrari finally scored a podium, a single one. Out of nowhere. I don't know, man. F1 through 10, Charles Leclerc. You know what?
F6.
You know what? No.
Even as a fan, I'm so depressed.
Shut up. You cannot give Leclerc an F6 and they give freaking Fernando Alonso an F4 for scoring terribly. Get out of here. Charles Leclerc gets an F1, and here's why. He needs it. Just like emotionally, he needs an F1. He had a solid week. There's nothing more he could have freaking done in that car. He wasn't beating the Red Bulls. He held off Hamilton. He held off his teammate. He held off Alonso. F1 weekend. For me, Charles Leclerc basically got the victory. There's nothing more. He couldn't have done it more.
Yeah, but why couldn't Ferrari do that the weekends before? Like,
Because Ferrari.
what made it so? Shut up. What made
Yeah.
Ferrari so different in Spa specifically, right before summer break, compared to the last 3 races, especially in the Red Bull ring?
Because
in
they're
the
Ferrari.
Austrian Grand.
They're Ferrari.
That's not a good reason, dude.
The I in Ferrari, you know what that stands for? Inconsistency.
Incompetent.
It can stand for a lot of things, but it's Ferrari. I don't know what you expect. They stink.
Yeah,
They're P5 in the constructors. They're gonna get overtaken.
Bad.
They're
bad.
No, they're not P5. They're P4, but they're gonna end up P5 because McLaren's going to overtake them.
Yeah.
As long as the underdogs just outperform them, it's not gonna be a good time for them the rest of the year.
Bro, hey man, their aero time is going up though, but it's all good. Pat, F1 through 10 for Charles Leclerc.
I give him an F2. I think you gave a compelling argument. I mean, was he like on TV that much this weekend? He was kind of just like on the brink there. It was like Piastri kind of had the highlights, and it was just like, oh, Leclerc got third or whatever. It wasn't like the camera wasn't on him much, and didn't put up a fight against Max or anything, and didn't really have to overtake anyone, but definitely played some like good defensive driving and held consistent pace. So
I agree.
Definitely an F2 weekend for him.
I agree with you 100%. 100%. Let's talk about Carlos.
What about me? God damn it!
You just gave it an F6. I don't want to hear it from you. He scored a podium. You're a Ferrari fan. You're going to give Charles Leclerc an F6?
Yeah, because he's in a Ferrari. Come on, bro.
Exactly. He's in a Ferrari. If anything, that should handicap him. He should automatically get a higher score. Look, he should consider it a blessing. His engine didn't blow up. He didn't get a bad strategy. They allowed him to overtake his teammate. He didn't have to do any of the, oh, guys, it's his whole position, though everybody else overtakes us. He didn't bend it in the rain. So, like, what more could you ask for? It's a Ferrari.
I mean, if you think about it, Ferrari's actually kind of fixed their consistency issues of last year. Like, they're not
consistently
turning
terrible.
into fireballs anymore, but they're just consistently slow.
They're consistently terrible.
But they don't
Enough
blow
of the
up.
slander, man.
Get out of
They
here.
just
All
don't
right.
win.
Enough of
All
Charles
right.
Leclerc. Carlos
Next team.
Sainz, F1 through 10. Carlos Sainz DNF from the race after avoiding Lewis Hamilton so graciously and instead opting to take out Oscar Piastri in the first corner on lap 1. Gentlemen's made a business decision. Probably better to take out a rookie than it is to take out Lewis Hamilton, but let's think about it. Think about this, right? Think of how many like Lewis Hamilton fans would be after Carlos Sainz right now if he had decided to hit Lewis instead of Oscar Piastri. He is Oscar Piastri. Nobody really cares at the end of the day. Like there aren't that many Oscar Piastri fans.
He killed my boy. My boy was having a heater of a weekend.
He was. All right, we'll get there.
Piastri was on for an F0.
We'll get the Piastri. Just relax. Chill out.
Carlos Sainz rating.
Exactly. It's Carlos Sainz. We're not talking about
Carlos
Piastri right now.
Sainz.
He's next. He's next. Carlos Sainz. DNF. P4 in the sprint.
F10.
F4.
I give him F5.
F4.
That's okay.
I think Carlos Sainz would have had a good race. I think Carlos Sainz probably could have challenged Leclerc for the podium. I think, unfortunately, it was nothing more than a racing incident. There was just too many cars, too little space. Someone had to get hit. Unfortunately, it was him and Piastri. It happens. But had a good showing. Finished P4 in the race or in the sprint race. One place above his teammate, finished P5. So, Carlos Sainz, pretty good weekend. Pat?
So you say he has a pretty good weekend and the guy DNF'd? Make it make sense.
No. I'm going to give him like an F. Yeah, I was going to give him an F10 because he murdered my boy. Like, justice for Oscar. I mean, Oscar had a podium locked up and got destroyed. But
man, I'm kind of was dog shit in the race, but that's okay.
Oh, yeah. You know, you're probably right.
He wasn't scoring anything. That's okay. Go ahead.
That McLaren was.
Give him your rating. Give him a rating.
Give him a F6.
But
I was generous.
Not a lot of reasoning behind that, but
damn,
with the DNF,
what are you giving it?
Wasn't there?
I give him an F5 or F6. He did have a good weekend in a Ferrari car, but you can't have little incidents like that with a fucking rookie and bending it on the inside of the tightest turn in the entire track.
Do you hear the hypocrisy coming out of this man? He just said he had a good weekend in a Ferrari car, but when we talk about Charles Leclerc scoring a podium in a Ferrari car, it's supposed to be
because he's driver number one.
Because he's in a Ferrari car.
He's supposed to be up there.
It's fantastic. He's supposed to be up there because it's a Ferrari car. But when Carlos Sainz has a okay weekend, not the best, he's like, well, he was in a Ferrari car, so I guess he had a pretty good result. Make it make sense, Dan. Make it make sense.
F5.
F5. Oh my god. Let's talk McLaren. Love McLaren.
I think,
but my boys were nowhere this week.
Yeah.
They were absolutely. Well, that's not true. That's not true.
7th from Norris.
Lando Norris, you're getting skipped for now because your teammate completely dogged you this weekend, and that's okay. Let's talk about Oscar Piastri. Oscar Piastri scored his first podium in the sprint race, finishing P2 in the sprint. DNF'd in the race because
my lord.
Oh my god, we're back.
Tango down.
Pat, take it over from me, please, on technical difficulties.
Oscar. He was on for a weekend. I wanted to see it. I was so excited for him to be starting P2. He's been on a tear the past 3 weeks in that McLaren. I mean, Lando's looked good too, but I guess came Sunday they had the super wet setup for the wings and absolutely trashed their pace in the dry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. Even for both drivers, they just had such a uphill coming, just going uphill through the qualifying, through the sprint, and then once race day was around, literally right in the beginning of the race, we just see them crumble.
Yeah.
Just crumble.
It was sad.
And it's so upsetting.
It was
so upsetting.
That's all right. That's all right.
It happens. It's racing.
Yeah.
It happens. But Piastri, you get your flowers.
Mm-hmm.
I think Piastri is the next Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton, you name it.
Take
He
it
is-
easy there,
Dude,
bud.
Piastri
He's
is
in
fucking
he's
good.
in a McLaren.
He's fucking good.
We say Lando Norris is a top 4, top 5 driver. He's in a McLaren in his rookie season, giving Lando Norris the business some weekends. Like the business some weekends. Let's not forget in Hungary, he would have beat Lando. But Ferrari Ferrari screws up strategies too. But McLaren screwed Oscar Piastri with the strategy and let Lando undercut him. And then this week he gets DNF'd by Carlos Sainz, but Piastri is freaking. He's good, man. He's an absolute superstar. An absolute superstar.
That quali lap was fucking good.
Nuts.
Around Spa.
Nuts.
That was so fast. I mean, literally maxed by 11 thousandths of a second.
Thousandths of a second.
Like, damn. It was like that far.
It almost
so
had pole. And finished P2 again. P2 in the sprint race. His teammate Lando finished P6. Like, what more do you want him to do? Like, that's
a great weekend.
Piastri, you get your claps.
Yeah, I don't know if you've been
F1 F1 weekend for
he got Robbie Sunday.
F2
F1 weekend for a rookie because
I can't. Yeah,
I mean, he did score points this weekend. He scored 7.
He scored points.
He scored 7 points with a DNF. So,
but I can't forgive him. I mean,
although non-fault DNF, he scored 7 points.
Although it wasn't his fault for the race, like anybody who's ever driven in Spa, whether it's like in real life, sim racing, whatever, you don't send it down 3 deep into the corner of Spa into the source. Like you don't do that. So
I mean, you got to give it to him.
This is not
nuts.
He was just eager as fuck to just pass people.
Does have nuts.
Yeah,
he's got that like Verstappen like young mindset. Like I'm gonna go for every.
He doesn't though. Because Verstappen as a rookie, bro, Verstappen was crashing, spinning, sending when he shouldn't. You don't see any. Piastri's like seasoned vet out there, bro. He doesn't do anything rash or like stupid. Like he never finds himself in incidents.
Yeah, you're right.
He's just fast and consistent and good, man.
Yeah, I think he's less conservative now and wants to like start taking those risks to make the podium standings.
Yeah,
and he's just looking like superhero out there as a rookie.
First season
good for him.
McLaren's got 2 great drivers. But I think
McLaren.
I would be
like,
sad to see.
In terms of like pairings, I think Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri are probably 2 the best drivers you could have. On
McLaren in the next couple years, depending
if they get
on
the
what
car
happens with Lewis
together.
Hamilton.
If they get the car together.
Well, depending on what happens with Lewis Hamilton, McLaren might have the best driver lineup. They're gross, filthy, and young, bro. Gross. But let's not overshadow Lando. Well, I mean, he didn't really do much. No offense, Lando. I love you. But P7 in the race, P6 in the sprint race. Wasn't there. I mean, it's not often. I don't think we've really ever seen Lando get dusted by a teammate like he did this weekend. I don't know if it was just him, the car wasn't there. Not a good weekend for Lando. I'm giving him an F6.
I'll give him an F7. He felt it looked like he was a little scared to drive on Spa in some of the corners. Like he was way too slow on some of the turns, getting overtaken left and right by the Ferraris, the Mercedes, even by Alpine, getting passed by not Pierre Gasly, Ocon. Yeah. So like, can we give him some credit? Yes, but compared to literally 2 weeks before getting podium, it's sad to see that he's just like in the middle of the mix.
Yeah, I think it was just kind of a mid weekend for him. Just
which
didn't really put it together, but I think I'd say like a F5, F6, maybe. Just definitely on like the lower end of like the mid weekends for him. Not a disaster, but
they definitely strategized for a lot of rain.
Yeah,
I feel like
they definitely set up for a lot of rain.
They smoke their tires. That's what McLaren does. So
yeah,
he probably smoked his tires at the beginning.
Well, they want extra high downforce and cook their tires and cook their straight line speed because they wanted the rain grip in the rain.
I'm not gonna grill McLaren though for one bad race. They've been sensational.
No,
so.
I mean,
going into the summer break in the lap, you guys have been good.
Yeah,
they
It
expected it to
happens,
I
man.
rain.
agree.
It
They
happens.
expected it to rain. It was supposed to rain.
And
It
again,
didn't rain.
It's Spa,
when
like
you're facing Red Bull right now is like their number one rival, like who they're trying to beat because
You
they're
gotta
like kind of the
like
second fastest. You got to send it. You got to full
you
send
gotta
it
you
and see
gotta
what happens.
fucking do something. You gotta
Yeah,
give yourself an edge and be like, hey, if it's gonna
yeah,
rain, like let it rain. That's what the
yeah.
McLaren boys are thinking.
Completely agree. All right, enough about McLaren. Let's get towards the bottom half of the table. Um, this is the last major one because a lot of stuff happened with this team this week, and where I mean a lot of stuff. They fired everybody. They fired their CEO. They fired their team principal. They fired their chief technical officer. They fired literally everybody but the driver. Alpine, what the fuck is going on?
they're just struggling. I don't know what it is.
So behind
They
the
they've
curtains
been
is
so yeah,
sad.
there's definitely stuff happening in the background that nobody else knows, and it's just very depressing because you have two French drivers, a French team. It got bought out by celebrities,
Mhm.
so they're definitely bringing in money, but they're not performing well.
Nowhere.
So where's the issue here?
And let's not forget that at the beginning of the season, they could have easily had their driver pairing as Fernando Alonso and Oscar Piastri, but they
Mm,
didn't.
damn.
They opted to
Well,
Damn.
they opted to
they
keep
had to
Esteban.
pay the fine. I don't know if you guys saw that. They had to pay a fine of 350 pounds to the other team that exposed or hired Oscar Piastri. So right there, they already lost money. Okay, and then you come into the season looking like mediocre dog shit. Okay,
They finished
and
fourth. They finished. Let's not forget. They finished fourth last year. They were a good team last
Yeah.
year. They were the Aston Martin of last year,
Yeah, they were.
and they're freaking nowhere.
but it was all Alonso as well.
It was all
Where
Alonso.
were they?
Alcon was there, but what I'm saying is, you had two potentially superstar drivers. Alonso was a superstar. We know that. Piastri looks like he's going to be a superstar if he isn't already.
Mm-hmm.
You threw that out the window. Your car is nowhere this year. You fire everybody who has anything to do with your team except your drivers. Your drivers hate each other. That's publicly like there's no one your drivers hate each other. Like, just what are they doing, man?
I mean, they got good drivers.
It's
I think. I mean, I guess
but
they.
it's nothing you're gonna win a world championship with. Nothing you're gonna compete with.
I
Of,
mean, it's good
out of
to
the
see
top five teams,
Gasly.
who wouldn't you say they're the weakest lineup?
Yeah, one of them.
I mean, who else is weaker besides maybe like Alonso and Stroll? But Stroll just pulls that down way to the ground.
Mm-hmm.
True.
So I don't know the dumpster fire. But let's just go into Gasly P11 in the race, P3 in the sprint.
P3 in the sprint. Oh yeah, you're right. He was way up
Yeah,
there.
Yep.
he did get a podium in the
He had
sprint.
a podium.
He scored some points this week, but race was absolutely freaking nowhere.
Yeah.
P5 being kind for the podium.
Or F5.
Who we're talking about,
F5.
Gasly?
Oh, sorry, that's the F5.
I'll-
Yeah,
I-
F5. F5.
Yeah, I give him F6.
Damn, it's hard.
If you're gonna do good, if you're gonna do good in the sprint,
Yeah.
well, their strategy was awesome because I don't think they actually pit.
No, they don't pit. I mean, he qualified well for the sprint
Mhm.
race and then just held
And then
on
they
to
shit
it.
the bed on the
Held on to
on
third.
the better race or the more important race.
Yeah.
So
They just on pace for
P6.
that.
I mean F6 for Gasly.
Let's talk about Esteban. Oh, Pat, did you do Gasly?
Yeah, I'll give him like an F6. Maybe, no, actually, I'll give him an F4. I mean, shit weekend that could have been like bad thing, but I think he had a great Saturday. You got to give him props for a great Saturday. I'll get him on the upper half of the mid rating.
Yep. All right, last one. Let's go Esteban Ocon. P8 in the race, P9 in the sprint. Pretty much, I mean, beat his teammate in the race, but who cares about P8 if you guys are struggling like that?
Yeah.
And then got demolished by his teammate in the sprint. Teammate scored a podium. You were 6 places down on him. So, I don't know, bro. P7 for Ocon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I give him an F7.
Or F7.
It's just,
Shit, my bad. F7.
I don't know, towards the end of the race he was definitely passing people, doing awesome overtakes, and he had a crazy overtake against Yuki Tsunoda right after the straightaway.
It's an
He,
Alpha
like-
Tauri, though, man. Like,
Yeah, but even AlphaTauri was looking kind of fired that
That's
this
like
weekend.
that's like beating up on a 5-year-old and be like, yeah, I just crossed up a
Danny
5-year-old.
Rick
Like,
looked like shit when we get to that.
good for you, man.
Danny
Like,
Rick
it's
was
Alpha
on there.
Tauri, dude.
Yeah.
They stink.
Atari's
It's bad.
might have some good overtakes.
They just
but
need to. They
Alpine
both need
needs
to like.
get it together.
Alpine needs to get
Yeah,
it together. That's consensus. Alpine needs to get it together.
Yeah.
All right, let's speed run the bottom half of the grid because, no offense, nobody really cared about these people. I mean, I care about you guys as drivers, but you guys didn't do anything that weren't being talked about this weekend.
No.
So maybe next weekend after the break, you guys weren't being talked about. But Alex Albon, P14 in the race, P12 in the sprint. Terrible weekend from what's been a decent Williams over the last several races. F8, F9, not very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I give him a F9. This is a Williams.
Yeah.
You're gonna talk about shit cars. AlphaTauri, Williams are definitely down there, and then like we got Haas.
Whoa, easy on the Williams. That Williams is a rocket ship in a straight line. All right, so
Yeah, and they did not take advantage of that. Not this weekend. This was the track for Williams, and they just
Call them out on the
shit.
bullshit.
no, because you need so much downforce for Spa. 'Cause
That's true.
All those high speed corners, you need to be planted to the ground.
That's true.
So
Yeah, but then
it's a
how does
tricky
Red
circuit.
Bull go like 220 miles an hour down the straight?
Because they cheat. They freaking overspent the budget cap, and who freaking knows what's wrong with that car? But whatever.
Dining services, bro.
It's
They-
too late now.
They're
Yeah, man,
feeding
we
their
spent
engineers extra good, so they work
$5
extra
million
hard.
on cake. We spent $5 million on cake.
Yeah,
and
bro.
freaking fried chicken.
Makes so much sense.
Yeah, man, easy.
Adds up on our books.
Okay, man. But you know what happens? They get fined 10% aero time, which they don't care about because they have Adrian Newey.
Yeah.
And then this is another thing that makes no sense. We don't have to get into this, but if you're going to fine a team $7 million, right? Why wouldn't you fine their budget cap that? Why would you fine the multi-billion-dollar organization that is Red Bull? You'd be like, oh, you guys have to pay $7 million. That's a drop in the bucket for Red Bull to pay. But like,
They don't
oh yeah,
care.
6 years of domination for $7 million? I'll freaking take it. Like,
They made $7 million
what?
last week in merchandise.
That's what I'm saying, dude. Like, who freaking cares?
Like what?
$7 million. Like, get out of here, bro.
It was just a cash grab for the
20
FIA.
second gap.
Shut everyone up. Be like, yeah, we fined him. Nah, they didn't.
You didn't find him.
They did this shit.
They didn't do shit.
Now look what's happening. It is what it is. All right, Logan Sargent. P17, P16 the race, got bludgeoned by his teammate. Basically
Trash.
finished dead to last and everything.
Trash.
F10.
Yeah, that was
F10.
trash.
F9.
Absolute.
F9?
At
What are you
least-
doing
at
to Warren at
least
9?
He wasn't. At least he wasn't all the way in
No,
the back.
he was so bad.
Yeah, bad.
The FP1
He didn't finish.
crash too. No, he had a crash in practice, but I think that was
He
because
did, he
of
did.
the wet. He just hydroplaned. He was
It's okay.
driving on the ocean.
All right, Logan Sarge. Get good.
Yeah.
It's whatever. K-Mag. P15, P14. I don't know. F9, F10.
Eight.
I mean, he beat his teammate, so at F9.
Who knows?
Some credit.
Something like that. Nico Hulkenberg, P18, P17, got bludgeoned by his teammate, who was also trash, F10.
Yeah. Oh well, Nico got
This guy
screwed
needs
in
to
quali.
freaking the fuck up.
Was that this week? He
Yeah,
got screwed in quali. Was that this week
his,
in quali?
his lap time got deleted.
Yeah, I think it was this week.
Or his team screwed
It doesn't
up,
matter.
or his
You-
team screwed up.
It doesn't
I don't
matter. It doesn't matter if he gets.
I don't know.
Doesn't matter if he got screwed or not.
Yeah.
He sucked.
But he sucked.
All right?
He sucked.
He was
Yeah,
trash.
he sucked.
He's trash. Get out of here.
I just don't
Um,
understand. They pick up two like legendary drivers, right, for Haas, and then they just underperform like tremendously.
What about Kevin Magnussen and Nico Hulkenberg screams legendary?
Yeah, I
to
don't-
you?
They've
'Cause
just
you know-
been in the
you know what's
league
legendary?
for so long.
You know what's legendary? The lack of performance over time.
Yeah.
That's what's legendary. That you've been in F1 for so long, and yet Nico Hulkenberg has never even stood on like a podium or like a top 5 or something like that. Like,
Yeah. Oh my
It's just
god.
eternally
That's
mid.
He's just been on garbage teams.
eternally
Garbage
mid.
teams.
He's like a good shit driver. Like he'll drive your shitty car like pretty okay.
Pretty okay.
You know, like
There's a reason they're both out of a seat. There's a reason
like,
they're
not gonna,
both
like,
out of a seat because
Latifi it, but he's definitely not gonna like be near the front.
yeah,
Oh
but
my
again,
goodness,
there's a reason
guys.
they're both out of a seat. They're at some point in time, someone looked at both of these drivers and said, "My team is better off without you driving my car than it is with you driving my car." and there's a reason for that.
Yeah,
So
yeah, definitely.
that's fair.
Haas,
Well, if we see them right now, they're tied in the standings for 8th place, or no, 7th place. Williams and Haas. So if they score one more point, that's more millions of dollars towards each team, and that could count for so much, especially with a team like that shitty.
so they can pay Ferrari to build them another shitty car for another year,
Yeah, Haas
bro.
needs to maybe
Like,
change
they
their sourcing.
they gotta get their structure figured out. Yeah,
They gotta
need
start
to
taking Red Bull
start
engines.
figuring. Hey, maybe going to Ferrari for 95% of a car is not the best solution.
No,
It's maybe
Ferrari
true,
boys don't
maybe.
know it either.
No, they don't. Look, they're P5. It's one thing if you're going to Red Bull or Mercedes. It's like, hey, build us a car. Ferrari ain't it. But that's all right. It's okay. It happens. All right, finally, AlphaTauri. Absolute dog water of a car. Daniel Ricciardo, second race back, P16 in the race, P10 in the sprint. Hate to see it for Daniel Rick, but that's a P. That's an F.
F8.
Yeah.
He got beat by Yuki.
No, yeah, he got
He
bludgeoned
did
by Yuki. So F9.
Yeah.
F9.
Yeah,
Not a good
I
look.
give him F9.
No.
Yuki scored
did
8
beat-
point.
He beat Yuki in the sprint. Yuki was P18 in the sprint
Yeah.
and P10 in that and Daniel Ricciardo's P10.
Yeah, but Yuki scored more points on the weekend.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, no, I was saying no. Daniel Ricciardo got bludgeoned by his teammate.
he was down
so
with
he
Logan
gets a
Sargent.
P. He gets an F9. Daniel Ricciardo also got screwed by his strategy. Like he pitted like once. I think he pitted for like hards and it was only on for like 8 laps and
Yeah.
pitted again. I was like, what are you
He
doing?
Yeah,
definitely
that was-
screwed up his strategy big time, but just
Yeah.
not a lot out of Danny Rick.
No. Yuki Tsunoda, P10, P18, and sprint. He scored a point, so I'll give him a P. Sorry, I'll keep saying P. I'll give him an F.
F8 again.
7? F6?
You got F6.
He scored a
Danny
point.
Rick,
You got a point.
F9, Yuki Tsunoda, F8.
He scored a point. He scored a point. That car sucks. All right, and he beat Danny Rick. I mean, he got bludgeoned. All right, man, probably like an F7. But hey, man, who's keeping track of when it's that low?
Do you want dinner?
We're keeping that.
We're
We're
keeping that.
keeping that.
Oh my god, do you want dinner?
Last team. I think it's
Oh,
Alfa
that was it.
Romeo.
That was it. Oh, I skipped over Alfa Romeo.
Oh,
Because
They
that's
were
how-
before Alpha Tauri.
That's how irrelevant they
Yeah.
are.
They were nowhere to be seen.
Bro, I forgot they
God
existed.
damn.
Oh, I legitimately forgot they existed. Oh no, bro.
I think Bottas got P12.
Oh yeah, here we go. They're right here. They're in between everybody and no man's land. Valtteri Bottas P12, Zhou Guanyu P13. Valtteri Bottas gets a P, gets an F7. Zhou Guanyu gets an F8. That's how
I agree.
yeah. It's pretty fair
They're
reading.
just,
they're literally no one. It's bro.
I don't understand why they're still on the fucking team.
Yeah. Well, I think Joe
They
is
should-
pretty
they
good.
should
Look,
quit.
Botas is
They're-
underperforming.
They're both
When you
decent.
give them the chance, they are.
Definitely
But like,
underperforming.
They're both decent drivers.
I think they can be
Both decent
decent at
drivers,
sometimes, but I don't know. Botas
the team is just.
Botas
oh,
had his like revenge tour, for that like first couple races of when he came to Alfa Romeo. He was like, "Oh wow, he's beating Lewis in Alfa Romeo," and it was like electric. It was electric. And then
crazy.
and then now he's
Yeah.
just a back marker. So I don't know. Combination of a shitty car and
Happens, bro.
just
He's
like
he's loving his life though. He's loving his life.
yeah. I mean, he's got the mullet thing going on. Not really helping with the pace, but
He's Australian now. He literally claims he's an Australian. So I'm like, hey man, if that's what you want to do. Let's get to this next section, speed round before we wrap it up. This is our new section. We call it F1 hot or not. Basically, we say if a driver is hot, they're in good form, are they on an uptrend or not, as in their performance has been a fluke and they are on the downtrend. So let's start. Pretty simple one. Sergio Perez, hot or not? Dan, go.
hot.
not.
Not.
Is this how we're doing it?
I mean, yeah, you could give a little explanation, but
We've gave our
I think
explanations.
definitely not. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely
we
not.
We
already
can go back
did.
earlier in the
Again,
podcast.
he had like 2 good races. I don't think that's like a sign.
Not hot seat to
He's
burn.
been performing dog water.
Max,
Not
red hot.
So, Max is. Oh, we can do Max. Yeah, Max is hot.
Obviously.
Max is hot as hell.
Yep.
Max
Hot.
is hot.
No,
Hot.
no explanation needed.
Smoking.
Just unstoppable.
No explanation.
Relax there, bud.
Let's just
Smoking.
glaze him another
Hot.
minute. No, I'm joking. All right, next team.
Oscar
Red hot,
Piastri.
red
Hot or not?
hot, red hot,
Hot,
red hot,
hot, hot as hell.
red hot.
Whoa, Dad! You said before the race that Oscar Piastri was not hot. Have you changed your
He's
mind?
that guy. He's that
Wait.
guy.
Nah, after hearing you guys commentate on like his performance, you gotta give the kid credit, man.
So he's hot.
He's hot.
Hot.
He's hot.
HAWT.
Mhm.
Hot.
Hot.
Hot. All right. Oh, man. Couple more. George Russell. Hot or not? Not.
Let's say not.
Not.
Nah,
I don't
man.
need much explanation. George, perform better. I love you, but perform better.
I think Lewis is a tricky one though.
Oh wait, are we doing everybody? I had like a couple.
Oh,
names.
you just got a
No,
couple
no,
names.
just
Couple
a few
names.
racers.
All right.
Yeah. We'll skip. We can do Lewis. Lewis is hot. Lewis is hot. He's been performing.
He's
been
definitely
performing.
on the hotter side.
He's been performing.
He did have that pole.
He's on hot. He's not. He's not
Yeah,
smoking.
no.
But he's
I
like
say he's hot. Yeah, you're right. You're
he's
right.
like
He's
a
right.
minute. He's like a minute in the microwave where it's like it's getting there. But like,
It's hot on the outside, but still cold
Yeah.
on the inside.
exactly.
He's
He's got
medium
it.
rare.
He's got it. All right,
Let's go, let's go.
Last two. Fernando Alonso.
Not.
Big not.
Nah, he's rare. He is raw meat. Cal
It's
is
still mooing at
still
you.
moving. It is still that Aston Martin is still moving.
That poor guy.
Oh man, poor guy. Last one. Charles Leclerc.
Not.
Hot?
Well,
Excuse me, what was that?
let me.
Hot?
I'll make it simple easy. Absolutely not.
Not.
We are not
Yeah.
going to sit here and say Charles Leclerc is hot
Yeah,
after he's
Yeah,
been
you're right.
crying
You're
on the
right.
radio for the
You-
last 5 weeks,
absolutely.
and he gets one good result, and we're like, Charles Leclerc is
No.
hot.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're
That's
right.
not
All right, all
No,
right, all right.
No, he's been crying.
He's not that cold.
He's not
but
that cold, but
he's
He's
not.
cold.
He's-
He's cold.
Nah.
Like he's like in my freezer.
Yeah.
Cold. Like
he's
ice
like room
pop.
temperature right now.
Cold.
He's not in the negative.
Actually,
Room
no. Actually,
temperature.
you know, he's like fridge temperature. He's like not in the freezer. He's,
All right. I won't put him in my freezer, but I'll put him in my fridge.
yeah. He's the tears on the radio is hilarious though. He's like, guys, please,
Man, the infamous
please,
scream.
put me on the right tire this time. They're like, we're thinking about inners. Like, what? It's dry. The Ferrari
Oh my God.
freaking
man.
garage is an absolute train wreck.
All right, Pat, shut up. We're about to hit an hour. We're supposed to cut this at 45 minutes, but
Poor Leclerc.
oh, man.
Definitely not.
All right, well, this podcast kind of got derailed like halfway through. I hope you guys all have a great dinner.
Mhm.
Make sure you follow us. Make sure you follow us at Full Throttle Pod, at Full Throttle Pod on Instagram, YouTube. What else do we have? TikTok. Twitter doesn't exist anymore.
Spotify.
Yeah,
What?
Twitter doesn't exist anymore, and we're not using X, so don't look us up there.
Deleting the
Um,
account.
you can find us on Threads though. You can find us on Threads, but we're not using X, so don't look for us there. Yeah, Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube for the podcast. I think that's it.
Yep.
Thanks guys for listening / watching. If you're watching on YouTube, peace out. We'll see you guys next time.
Goodbye.